Hi, I'm Leigh, and I'm here to talk to you about my experience of learning to read the Bible. When I first became a Christian, I was used to reading a book from the beginning to the end. But when I looked at the Bible, that just seemed like a really daunting thing to do. A friend of mine showed me a daily reading guide, which gave a small passage of scripture to read, a little bit of an explanation, and then also how I could apply that to my life. It was something like Daily Bread from Scripture Union, which you can still get hold of if that's interesting to you. I found that a really useful way to get started, and I used that for maybe a couple of years. And it really helped me to see that I could read the Bible in different ways and that I could learn how to understand it for myself. It also bred in me a real desire to go deeper and go further. And I asked around and found out other people's ways that they had of reading the Bible. Now, I'm someone who gets bored really easily. So I've tried most of the different ways over the years, and I'll share some of my experiences. I've read through the Bible in a year, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I would encourage you, if you've never done it, it's a really, really good thing to do. Because that way you know that you have read every single bit of the Bible. And apparently everything we read does actually get lodged in our brains. So it is there, and there is a way that our minds can actually pull it out if there is something relevant to use it for. I've read the Bible in a year, starting at the beginning of Genesis and reading right through to the end of Revelation. I've also read it by splitting the Bible up into different sections and reading one of those each day. So, for example, reading, say, the Law, which is the first 5 books, on a Monday, and then maybe the history books on a Tuesday, and then maybe through the Gospels on a Wednesday or something like that. There are different ways you can do that, and there are plenty of resources online if you think that might be interesting. I've also read a book in a day. So, for example, reading Mark's Gospel, just literally sit down and read it. It's a great story and a really, really good way to just see the whole of Jesus' adult life in one go. And then I've taken months and months and months to read through a single book. I started Luke's Gospel back last August, and I've just finished it, and we're now in May. That's allowed me to really dig deep into what that particular book says, and to take my time and pray it into me and really get to know it. So lots and lots of different things that I've done over the years. Reading alongside a commentary, reading alongside someone else so that you can share what you're reading together, all sorts of different ways. And the main thing I would say is just do read the Bible and find a way that suits you. Or if you're like me and you need to change it up, try lots of different things. One thing I do find can be really helpful when I'm going through a tough time is to read a psalm. So I had a really tough job at one point and was finding it very difficult and very depressing. And I decided that when I got home from work, I would just sit down and read a psalm at that point. Sometimes also, when things are really worrying me, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. And one of the things that I do try to remember to do at those times is perhaps read a psalm just before I go to bed. Or at least to read a psalm when I wake up, because then I can think about that rather than what's worrying me. How do I choose what to read next? Well, just recently, I've been using some of the things that Duncan says in the sermons, little throwaway remarks he makes. So when we were doing our series in Acts a few months ago, he mentioned that the book of Revelation is kind of written in parallel. So I tagged that, and I've just started reading through Revelation. And now we're doing our Joseph series, and Judah has come to the fore. So what I've tagged is that perhaps next I might read through the books in the Bible that focus on Judah's descendants. And that will lead me to end with a gospel and to read through about Jesus.